Hello everybody, and welcome to the Daily Splat. Social media is a very powerful tool, as I may have established in previous videos. The fact that I'm able to stand here in my bedroom in t-shirt and shorts and just talk into a little device and then put it up onto this internet thing and have anyone in the world listen to it, whether they understand English or not, is fairly remarkable. It's arguably one of the biggest advances culturally, technologically, and lots of other words that end in "ly" in the last 20 years. Maybe even 10. The point is, we now have this very powerful tool, and when I say we, I mean anyone with access to said technology, and the number of people with access to that is increasing at a rapid rate. Of course, we in the first world have enjoyed access to it at a much greater rate than those in the third world, but even now, people in more impoverished regions are starting to be able to get access to this stuff. You might be thinking, Stephen, this seems awfully serious of you today, or Splatt as you normally call me. Yeah, it is. The reason I'm being slightly serious is because I'd like to talk about something that I imagine is going to become a semi-serious issue in the next couple of months. There may be a couple of you already in the know, but for the rest of you who don't know, I'm talking about a little project that's known as Kony 2012. Basically, there is a gentleman named, well, I use the word gentleman loosely, there is a man named Joseph Kony. He's the leader of the Lord's Resistance Army, who are a paramilitary rebel organisation operating out of Uganda, although they have now spread to other countries within the middle of Africa. And they are essentially fighting so that Uganda is ruled by the Bible. You know, all laws come from the 10 Holy Commandments and that sort of thing, but they're fighting for this law to become in. At least that's their, stated initiative. They have proven over the previous 20 to 30 years that perhaps they don't respect those rules so much, given their tendency to rape and murder and, covet and all the other things that are in there. And steal, I'm pretty sure that's in there. Not sure if they've taken the Lord's name in vain, but they may have. Anyway, Joseph Kony is the leader of this resistance. Now you might think, but I've heard of resistance armies before, I've heard of troubles like that, why should we care about him? The reason we should care about him is because, quite frankly, you're going to be told to care about him. There is a couple of people in America who, over the last 8 to 10 years, have been trying to sort out Joseph Kony. And the reason for that is the Lord's Resistance Army use child soldiers. Now, if some of you might be going, child soldiers? What? Yes, they use children to fight in their armies. This isn't actually that uncommon a thing if you look back through military history. Ancient Greece and Rome were perfectly fine with using child soldiers. You can go from there right the way up to World War II, where, in desperation in the very last days of the war, the majority of the what was left of the German armed forces consisted of young boys aged between 10 and up, being given a gun and just told to shoot at the Russians as they came in and die fighting for, the fatherland. Of course, that was an atrocity, but with so many other atrocities that occurred during World War II, it has been largely overlooked. But even since then there have been child armies. The Khmer Rouge famously brainwashed, well, I say famously, perhaps not that famously, but they did brainwash thousands of children during the reign of Pol Pot. Similarly, Sierra Leone has done many of these things during the 80s, 90s and noughties, if that's what we're going to call them. So, and which makes the Lord's Resistance Army's use of child soldiers over the last quarter of a century no different in a way. It's obviously heinous. Children shouldn't be made to fight. And the things that are reportedly they are made to do, young boys, made to shoot people on command, mutilate people, torture them, kill their own parents in some cases. And of course, the treatment of young girls is best left to the imagination and rather not be said. The point is, the difference between the times when those child armies were being used and the child army that is being used today by Joseph Kony is that we are now able to communicate opinions on the matter much more widely. Kony's activities have been barely reported in Western media over the last 20 years. In fact, I'm very confident if you asked 100 people on the street today who Joseph Kony was, maybe 2 or 3 of them could tell you. I'd be surprised if it was that high. And that's even with the coverage that this Kony 2012 movement is starting to get. So, you know, imagine what it would have been like 3 or 4 years ago when the movement was very small. Exactly. So, the reason I'm bringing it up is not because I'm going to start wearing Kony 2012 t-shirts or something like that. As I've mentioned previously, I'm not massively big on the politics of things, but this is beyond the realms of politics. This is beyond the realms of these sorts of things. This is child soldiers. This is an abhorrent and appalling thing. The great thing about today, though, is that I can tell you this stood in my room in a t-shirt and shorts. Now, if you want to look up more information on the Kony thing, then please do. It's, you know, just Google Kony 2012 and you'll find all sorts of links there to the movement which is being run out of America and indeed worldwide. There's an initiative that on April the 20th there will be a lot of posters and banners and all sorts of things being put up in major cities around the world to make everyone aware of Joseph Kony and his crimes. The reason that they need this to happen is because a very small group of American military advisors are currently in Uganda, helping advise the Ugandan National Army to try and track down and arrest Joseph Kony, because it is the belief of the organisation trying to spread publicity about this, that if Joseph Kony is arrested, then it will stop. That is their belief. Of course, it might not happen. I mean, the Lord's Resistance Army is a relatively big rebel group, and you know, you've not just got to get Joseph Kony. I've just got the names on a list here. You know, you've also got to try and make sure that you get hold of Okot Odahimbo, if I'm pronouncing that right, and indeed Dominic Ongwen. Now, recently, of course, the likes of and whoever has replaced the likes of formerly second in command Vincent Doughty, who was killed in action recently, and you know, others like Risaka Lukwia. The point is, they believe that if Joseph Kony, who has been leading this organisation for some time, is captured, these atrocities will stop. Now, whether they will or not, we remain unsure. However, it is very likely that if Joseph Kony is arrested and brought to justice, as it's said, in front of The Hague, there is a very strong chance that Uganda can rebuild and that the Lord's Resistance Army can be stopped. They claim to be fighting on the side of God, but given their actions, I very much doubt that these are their true motives. But that's my opinion. But it's also the opinion of a lot of people. Whether you can pull a truth out of that or not is a philosophical debate for another time. In short, I would recommend everyone at least give the 30-minute video that's been put together on the subject by the people who are trying to get this initiative off the ground a look at. They need the publicity, and they need hundreds of thousands of people worldwide getting in contact with the representatives in the USA saying, "Oi, don't pull out," which they might do. You know, otherwise children are going to be taken away from their families, going to be killed, mutilated, and all sorts of horrible things. In short, give it a look, see what you think. I, like the rest of this internet thing, am merely a gateway to new ideas. That is all for today.